Despite the fact that Donald Trump has a 34 felony count conviction against him in New York, that hasn't stopped his lawyers from just filing just now in New York State Supreme Court a letter demand to the judge, Judge Merchan, to immediately dismiss the case and not go to sentencing for the crimes that Donald Trump was convicted by a jury 12-0 of committing just this past May. They're relying, and I'll read to you from the letter, they're relying on the Constitution, their interpretation of it, of the Presidential Transition Act, and of quote-unquote justice, so that Donald Trump's powers and authorities as the president-elect won't be impeded by a November 26th sentencing. They're dead wrong. I don't think this is going to work, and I'm going to cover it right here on MeidasTouch and Legal AF. Just yesterday, we reported on the position taken by the Manhattan District Attorney to tell Judge Merchan what they should do, what he should do in balancing the competing interests between the fact that Donald Trump got elected president again, starting in January, even though he's already been convicted in May for conduct and behavior before he was president the first time. And their recommendation to the judge is to do a balancing between the justice requirement that the public needs to know the outcome and have its rulings through the jury upheld and respected on one side, and the office of the president on the other. And the only balancing that the prosecutors are recommending, the right one, is for Judge Merchan to just play this out over time, give the parties proper briefing, let it go up on appeal, and hold off on sentencing until after the appeals are done. And then once the appeals are done, go to sentencing, but suspend the sentence and defer it until 2029, when Donald Trump comes out of being office and stops being temporarily immune, as the Manhattan DA has framed it. But that's not good enough for Donald Trump and his lawyers. Here's what they have to say in their filing that we just got our hands on from today. Dear Justice Merchan, immediate dismissal of this case is mandated by the federal Constitution, the Presidential Transition Act, and the interest of justice in order to facilitate the orderly transition of executive power following his overwhelming victory in the 2024 election. We respectfully submit this pre-motion letter because we want to file a motion by the 20th of December in the meantime. In the second paragraph, they make it about political motivation again, except without referring to the actual criminal acts that their client was convicted of by a jury not named Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA. As DA Bragg engages in his own election campaign, he's not up for election for another year. The office appears to not be ready to dismiss this politically motivated and fatally flawed case. I mean, let's talk about that. Dismissal? This is already post-conviction. The judge can't dismiss the case. He'd have to have grounds to vacate the jury verdict, take away the jury's findings and the role of the jury in the process, and then also vacate and refuse to go forward with sentencing. Justice doesn't allow that. That's the problem. They make it sound like the case is still in its indictment stage. We'll just dismiss the indictment and close the case. We're well beyond that. We're into post-conviction stage. They continue to say that dismissal is necessary. The Constitution forbids placing into the hands of a single prosecutor and grand jury the practical power to interfere with the ability of a popularly elected president to carry out his constitutional functions. We're not talking about a grand jury anymore. We're talking about a petite jury, a jury of Donald Trump's peers, 12-0, that convicted him of 34 felony counts. That's the first case they lead with in their letter brief. It goes downhill from there. They go on to say at the bottom of page 1, continuing with this case would be uniquely destabilizing and threaten to hamstring the operation of the whole government apparatus, both in foreign and domestic affairs. It's as if they did not read the filing by the Manhattan DA's office just yesterday, where they said the way to balance these competing interests, public justice and the office of the presidency, is to just use time to ameliorate the issue. Have full briefing, let things go up on appeal, postpone the sentencing. Then once the sentencing happens, let's say in another month or two, then defer the actual imposition of the sentence or the start of the sentence until 2029. Everything's resolved. Why does it have to be dismissed permanently a conviction that already happened. And that's not even the vehicle. You don't dismiss convictions. You move to vacate them on proper grounds, which don't exist here. When this is only a temporary condition, which the Manhattan DA said, and they don't properly respond to in the Trump world. He only has a temporary immunity. Any of the things they're talking about here is just temporary. He's not forever the president-elect. It's for a short period of time, another 60 days or so. He's not permanently the president, even if he thinks he can be. It's for 4 years. And then he comes out, and then he returns to the mass of the public, as one of our founding fathers said. And he can be put in jail at that time. They continue on page 2 of this 2-page letter brief that they say, indeed, in Trump versus Vance at the top of page 2, a Supreme Court case, that this prosecutor conceded an oral argument before the United States Supreme Court that the courts are empowered to impose a wide variety of limitations, including, if necessary, to shut an investigation or a litigation where the matter presents a real burden to the president. There's no investigation here or litigation here. This is post-conviction sentencing. That's not what Vance was about, nor does it give us any guidance as to what the Supreme Court would do in the situation. Oh, the stores have already moved on from Halloween, and the holiday season is now officially upon us. Just look at the stores and supermarket parking lots if you don't own a calendar, and with it and the time change, your time to spend preparing meals for your family just got a lot shorter. 'Tis the season to liven up dinner. Gift an endless variety of tasty food from award-winning chefs with CookUnity. CookUnity meals are crafted from local farm-fresh ingredients and deliver vibrant flavors directly to your door, all at a fraction of the cost and time. Our family's new favorite? Ruben Garcia's pesto chicken breast with roasted potatoes and baby kale salad, which clocks in at just 660 calories per serving. And putting it together and making it made me feel like a chef again, with the added satisfaction that I know the ingredients are healthy and fresh, and the result shows that I love and care about my family. And we get to support local chefs and suppliers as an added benefit. Dozens of chefs offer a wide variety of cuisines. Select from over 350 meals or have them picked for you. Browse the menu by protein, chef, cuisine, or dietary need. You're sure to find food you'll love, easy and effortless. No cleanup or meal planning. Meals delivered fully cooked. Just heat in as little as 5 minutes. Flexible commitment-free subscriptions. Skip deliveries, pause or cancel anytime. Enjoy restaurant-quality meals for a fraction of the price. Subscriptions start as low as $11 a meal. The chefs you see on TV and in five-star kitchens are the chefs that make your CookUnity meals, like John DeLucy and his authentic Sunday sauce and rigatoni with meatballs and Italian pork sausage. Plus, we get to see in advance the micronutrition ratios for each meal, breaking down carbs, protein, and fat ratios for each meal we eat. Their roster of all-star chefs include Food Network alums, James Beard Award winners, and acclaimed restaurateurs, balancing flavor and nutrition in small batch meals sent fresh, not frozen, made with humanely raised meat and organic ingredients when possible, plus fresh seasonal products. Give the gift of delivering mouthwater meals crafted by local ingredients and award-winning chefs with CookUnity. Go to cookunity.com/legalaf or enter code legalaf before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code legalaf or going to cookunity.com/legalaf. And why they don't ever address why waiting 4 years to put Donald Trump in jail isn't a resolution and for the problem, doesn't solve for the problem. Instead, they ask for, whereas the Manhattan DA yesterday asked for the briefing to be complete by the 9th of December, they want to stick it out till December 20th to file their motion, making sure that the actual issue doesn't get resolved, likely before the inauguration, which is their goal. It said, we request a December 20th deadline to file the brief so that President Trump has the opportunity to address in that submission the positions taken by the Department of Justice in federal cases. We all know their positions. The reason they're picking that is by December the 2nd or so, Jack Smith's going to be telling Judge Chutkin what he's doing with the federal cases. They want to get the benefit of that. The court must address these new issues and dismiss the case prior to issuing a decision on the immunity motion. Now, that's odd. They don't want a decision on the immunity motion. They just think because this guy's the president-elect, that alone is enough to vacate a jury's finding and conviction on 34 felony counts. Not happening. Not through Judge Merchan, not through the Courts of Appeal of New York. He'll have to try to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court for that bizarre strategy. They go on to say that even if the court were to wrongly deny the new interest of justice motion. So now they're saying, forget our immunity motion. We're going to do a new interest of justice motion, which it should not do. The appropriate forum for any additional proceedings must first be resolved in President Trump's removal appeal. So they're still trying to get the federal court. The removal appeal reference is that we don't even want to be with you, Judge Merchan. Back in October, we said we should take this case over to the feds in federal court. I don't know how they get to the federal court. The United States Supreme Court about 2 weeks ago just said to Mark Meadows, who was a federal officer at one point, you don't get to use federal removal. So I don't know how a former president is a federal officer for federal officer removal, and it's already been rejected once at the beginning of the case. So why wouldn't it be rejected now at the end in the post-conviction world? So that's where we are, again, ending the letter the exact same way they started it. This case must be immediately dismissed, respectfully submitted with a typo. Todd Blanche, Emile Beauvais. They currently are with Blanche Law, but they've been nominated to be the Deputy Attorney General, the number 2 position in the Attorney General's office, and maybe the Attorney General if Matt Gaetz doesn't survive this confirmation process, and Emile Beauvais being his right-hand person. I mean, at some point, after Jan 20, Emile Beauvais and Todd Blanche are going to have to stop writing in this case because they can no longer have a private practice when they're representing the president, the office of the presidency, and the Department of Justice. But the update here on this hot take is, as expected, Trump has vehemently opposed the proposal, doesn't even mention the proposal, that all you have to do is wait a sufficient amount of time for the problem to clear itself up when Trump steps out of the presidency in 4 years and then send him to jail. Of course, they don't like that. So they come up with this 2-pronged attack or 3-pronged attack. Shouldn't be here, should be in federal court. Okay, well, there's an appeal on that, which is likely to lose. 2, don't even deal with the immunity motion that we already filed about the Supreme Court's immunity decision over July, which was probably a loser since everything about the payoff cover-up related to Stormy Daniels was done before he was president. Right? The payoff was done before he was president. The payback to Michael Cohen was after, but the crime was before. And so that should lose. So now they're like, interest of justice motion coming December 20th. And the judge will be like, okay. So what's the final word here? The judge, Judge Merchan, who makes good decisions. He's now got the 2 things. You'll come back here on Legal AF of the MeidasTouch Network to get the full reporting when the judge rules. Here's my prediction. The judge is going to set a briefing schedule. It may be somewhere between the 9th and the 20th for full briefing. He's going to make his decision. He's going to suspend the sentencing date. He's going to take it off the calendar for the 26th of November. He's going to let the parties work through the issue with him. He makes a ruling. That goes up on appeal. It'll be 2 levels of appeal in New York. It'll take a lot of months, 6 months to get through that process. Donald Trump will already be in the presidency by that point. And the appeal may sort of die or be put on hold while he's the president. And therefore, the sentencing itself won't really be happening while he's the president, while it stays alive until he comes out in 2029 and then is sentenced for 1 to 5 years in prison. That's sort of what I think is going to happen. We'll continue to follow it on MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF, including on our podcast, Legal AF. So until my next contribution and my next reporting, this is Michael Popok signing off. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at @LegalAFMTN. That's @LegalAFMTN.